Hello and welcome to the Quantum Bridge. Sorry for that slight stall if it was there at the beginning.
No, you get
That
cut
was
out.
me, yeah, me with technology. Yeah. Anyway, good to have everybody here, and we've got a new guest with us, which is always exciting. So, without going on, I'm going to pass across to my co-host Gary. And if you don't mind, Gary, can you introduce our new guest and give us a bit of background and get the show on the road?
I shall do. Yeah, I mean, today we have a new guest I met via X. It's a bit weird because sometimes when you're chatting to people online, if you've got the same vibe, you sort of think you've spoken more than you actually have. And you realise it's only really a few posts here and there, but you kind of like, you know where people are coming from. So when they're on that same vibe. But today we're going to welcome Ryan to the show. Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Cheers, thank you for having me. It's good to
That's
be
all
on.
right.
Welcome,
And,
Ryan.
and for our American audience, they're going to hear a nice English regional accent today. So, whereabouts in the country are you?
Based up in the northwest, near Wigan area, or for people who aren't even sure, Wigan, somewhere between Manchester and Liverpool.
There we go. Yeah, we've got about sort of 50% of our audience in the US, so it's quite good. Right, I don't know where to start. We want to sort of introduce you to the audience, hear your story. I want to get to where you currently are trying to do this personal development this stuff, but where was that seed planted? You know, was it like a lot of people in 2020, or has it always been something you've been interested in?
I think it's always been something I've been a little bit interested in, but I think 2020, yeah, when the whole COVID thing kicked off, it kind of accelerated all of that. Which is where I kind of started speaking out on Twitter and noticing there was a lot of other people out there. And I think off the back of that, I've connected with a lot of good people and learned a lot of new good information. And then that's kind of where I want to go now, get out of the normal path, so to speak, and try and build something different for myself. That where I'm in a much happier place. And that's kind of like the route I'm trying to travel down.
I think it's a time that did bring a lot of people into some kind of alignment. You know, even if it's a bit tumultuous at times, but sometimes we need that to shake us out of the norm, I guess. It's been quite a journey for yourself because you gained quite a big following.
It happened like very unexpectedly. Like I started speaking out kind of just to the people around me and stuff, and on like Facebook as well, and like wasn't getting, because I noticed things were off. And when I'm starting, like, you try to say, look at this, look at that, or what about this, and no one really paid any attention, or you get called a bit of Fruit Loop, tinfoil hat, we're all used to those kind of sayings kind of going around. And then I noticed when I went on Twitter, as it was known at the time, and started posting out there or responding like, to certain things, even calling some of the bigger names out when they were saying stuff like, you clearly lying or misleading people because of this, this, and this. And out of nowhere, yeah, just kind of reached quite a big following. Not planned at all, very unexpected. But it kind of give a little bit more hope as well, because when like you see people that's like interested in what you're saying around that subject, clearly they're thinking the same thing as well, and connecting with a lot of good people off the back of it as well, which is always good.
I mean, I think you've had like a lot of people this similar journey of, you could call it a shock of what's suddenly happening. You know, for one day it was normal life, and then it was all sort of just taken away. And I think what I saw online was a lot of us moving through, you know, this kind of like fear and then into anger. And some of us are moving into that sort of more peaceful empowerment. But how have you seen that journey in yourself and others?
I think it's drove a lot of people on a better journey. I think as a collective, there's a lot more people. I don't like using the phrase awake because we're kind of all at different points, but I feel like things are moving in a good direction, which gives me hope. I do still think there's a lot of things and a lot of pain that we'll have to go through, which I think some struggle to accept. But I think once you've accepted that, that's kind of part of the journey. And I think the best way to do it is looking inwards as well, which I think a lot of still struggling with, like, they kind of seen the lies, they know things need to change, but then they're kind of a bit disjointed on where they're heading. But I think I try and not judge in that sense, because I also look back at where I was, and then we're all just at different parts of the journey. But I do think things are, like, as a collective, heading the right way. Definitely.
Yeah. I think that's what becomes frustrating as you move through the things. You do look back and you see people where you was at, and then you sort of say, well, look, it's difficult, but it's quite easy as well. It's like it's sort of the easiest, hardest thing you'll do. It's kind of, to get out of that rut. I see a lot of people stuck in still that fear and anger stage, and I don't know if you see a lot of people still there.
I think I get drawn back into it myself sometimes. Like, I think I grew that audience, like, from talking about COVID, and then I find myself drawn into when the next thing comes up, making comments on it or getting frustrated by it, and then I keep trying to move away from that, like getting drawn into the next thing, even though it's like good to kind of understand what's going on. But I'm finding it doesn't really serve me any, like, purpose. Like, I spoke about COVID, I probably was one of the early ones, which, whether I don't really see that as an achievement, but it gained the following. But then I don't want to just be the person that's jumping on the next thing and the next thing. And I think at one point I did kind of get drawn into that phase, and then, like, you notice, and especially because I think when you kind of do the whole shouting and angry thing, that gets you the most engagement, and you kind of get stuck in that loop then, because you think, oh, I'm getting the engagement, I'll just keep ranting. But it's, when you look back, it's kind of, what am I serving? Am I actually improving anything by doing this? And then I notice when I do put the more positive stuff out, or things that people could try, it doesn't get much engagement at all. But then I'm trying to stick to that regardless, because I think hopefully the few people it does reach, it'll help, which is a net benefit over just ranting and raving just to gain likes and follower numbers.
It can be tricky, can't it? When you've like, say, you build a following on a certain thing, and then shifting that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so easily to get, like I said, I still occasionally do get sucked back into it a bit, like when you see something come up and you react, and you can sort of understand as well, like, why some of the others are doing what they're doing. They're kind of stuck in this loop of wanting to keep their attention and growing their thing going. But I suppose it's like, I have to ask myself, is it really what I want to be doing all the time, just and ranting and raving about the next topic just to keep engagement and followers for whatever purpose? Like I said, there's some accounts which are covering every topic, but then it's like they're kind of, that's their thing because they're genuinely working for, like, say, radio station, or they run a channel around it, which is beneficial because then you're sharing the information. But then there's some people that are just, it just seems it's like for engagement, just like be controversial, you get the engagement, and I think they're stuck in a loop of they like that feedback, which I'm trying to pull away from a little bit, so I can just do what I feel is right for me and what will provide benefit to other people, even if it's low engagement, rather than not being authentic and just to gain the engagement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Certainly a journey in that way that I find we all go through all these stages, and probably a British thing that we like moaning as well. So it's quite it's quite easy to go into that, natural state.
Yeah. I think that's just humans in general, which is why on socials the stuff that always gets all the attention is either fear or some hate, like someone going after someone or anything like that. That seems to always gather the most engagement.
Yeah.
I think we're just instinctively drawn to it.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting thing, really, to see the people's behaviour around all that stuff. I mean, I try and get them to understand that energy and engagement with these negative things. It's not a great space to be in, but you can only dig yourself out of it, really. I find.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think it's easy to get caught up in it, and like I think, but I am seeing a lot more people pulling away from it as well, which is always a good sign. Like I think we've had a couple of engagements, and I think I've seen a few people like talking about muting certain words and ignoring that, because it sends with the algorithms. People always say, "Oh, the algorithms promote this." It's like, yeah, because that's what people are engaging with. If you create it a certain way, it will start pulling back more things that you're engaged. So if you're only engaging with positive material, it'll feed you back more positive material. But it just shows that the fact that the most stuff out there is like anger and fear kind of posts, just shows that it's people engaging with that stuff that feeds it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're sort of used to that whole thing of being fed an adrenaline rush. I mean, we've been brought up on TV that was sort of car crashes and fairly heavily sexualized, maybe, and all of this other sort of stuff. I like car chases and stuff, don't get me wrong. And as you say, this is a natural thing to be drawn to things that are maybe slightly salacious or, get our adrenaline going and whatever. But I think this thing of finding that sort of stable inner sense, maybe it is innocence as well, but anyway, that thing of standing in the middle of the storm and being able to stand back from yourself and from events, I mean, this seems to be one of the most beautiful aspects that's come out of this whole, certainly the last few years, is this thing of being centered. So have you felt that sort of, I don't really want to, a bit like you don't like to use the term awake, and I'm not really a massive fan of the word spiritual, but have you found that you have made some sort of inner journey that has paralleled all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of been the path I've been trying to take for a while now, and I've fell off a little few times, like get drawn back into other stuff. Or there's like I don't want to go into like the personal too much what's happened in my life. But I've had certain events happen in my life which has pulled me away from that, and that's kind of like the post I put not long ago was like around I need to kind of like get back to centered and focus on that, because I found when I was focusing on that, my life was much better in like every aspect. And I think most people could vastly improve. I think if we stopped looking external too much, I think there's still important things that you'd like should keep your eye on, but if you're not going to do anything internally, then nothing else around you is going to change anyway, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, I think we've all been on that, this thing, and the idea of getting sort of derailed for a while and coming back, and what I think that's just part of it, isn't it? I mean, that's just sort of the old world tentacles trying to get hold of you, and then sort of that moment of intuition or inspiration where you go, no, that's not where I'm actually headed. Gary's very good at having that thing of head in this direction, think about everything in this direction, use our words in that direction, and we'll get there. And all this other stuff can just go on around us. Ryan's a question I wanted to ask you actually, that Gary didn't touch on, was just about sort of your history in terms of, have you always been, was there a moment of quote unquote enlightenment to all of this, a revelation, a sort of dark night of the soul? Have you always been intuitive or had levels of intuition? How different a person did you become over the last few years, or have you always been on a slightly different journey to most around you?
I think for a long time, like I've always had that where something like your intuition, like pulling you like this lifestyle you kind of leading is not right for you, but I never really seen a clear path, or whatever. I probably never focused on myself enough or researched enough, and I think it kind of COVID and that environment kind of just opened the door completely to me changing. So I feel like it was always there.
Yeah.
I always felt it, and something wasn't right, and I was always, conspiracy stuff was always entertaining me anyway. So I was always like looking into that stuff. So I always kind of like knew elements of the world that weren't right. But when them doors opened and the people I met through them, it's completely like changed my whole outlook on life and the direction I'm heading. So I think that's it. There's always, if COVID hadn't happened, would I have been where I am now and heading on the path I'm on? Maybe not. But I feel like it's actually benefited me overall, even though it was a crazy period. The people I've met, and the people I've met, and the changes I've made because of it, I would say are a net positive.
Yeah.
Even though it was hard going through that at the time.
Do you feel that we're somewhat better prepared for this year, 2024? And the reason I say that is because I think you agree with this, and I picked up on this from you, and I think Gary would agree with this as well, that I see this as an interesting one, probably a really choppy year, one where there'll be, you know, some types of revelation going on in all different aspects. But, you know, the fact that we made certain decisions fairly early on about trying to stick to our own truth and be authentic might make this a slightly, I don't know if easy is the right word, but might make this a slightly different journey for some of us than those who are yet to really see or face up to what's going on.
Yeah, I think we already know where the crazy points are going to be when it comes to, there's plenty of elections this year, and plenty of other big events going on which will be driving it crazy. And like I said, I don't think it gets easier. I think the journey we've been on, we'll just get a little bit stronger to it all and more resistant to being pulled into that space.
Good point.
So it is easier, but not necessarily. It could be like much more being thrown at us, but we've just become stronger and in ourselves that we can like kind of ride the waves a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
But and I think that's only growing on that side, and I think that's what a lot of people don't. I mentioned this a few times, like especially on X, is like when people like say kind of black pilled and no hope. I'm like, if you look back on here at the start of 2020, there wasn't that many people speaking out about stuff. Flip forward a few years, and like everywhere you look, everyone's speaking out about it. So it's a massive change, in my opinion. It's just got to keep kind of riding that wave, and everyone's at, like I said, at different points of the journey. But I feel like it's heading the right direction. It's just never going to be a quick fix, which is, I think, another thing I accepted early on. Is like the whole change might not even happen in my lifetime, but if I'm heading the right way, and that kind of passes on to other people, then I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't have to wait that long. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, 2024. This has got to be it. Yeah.
I thought it was 2025, according to our ranking.
I could sort of live with that. But in the end, you're right, because we'll just live with whatever it is. You know, whatever comes, as you say, we've found our position early on. And although these things, you're right, they might even be more difficult, but hopefully the inner peace, the strength, the community that we build up around ourselves, and the feedback loops we have will help us get through. Can I just ask, Ryan, in terms of that more sort of spiritual aspect, has it opened you up the last few years and your journey to other sort of traditions and things? Have you looked at sort of other spiritual pathways as part of that, or has that not been on your radar, so to speak?
Probably not yet, but I've been looking at stuff. Like, I think I've been, especially like more on the I've been looking at different types like meditations and breathing and stuff that was like more like ancient, stuff when you see the people that have researched it, and even some of those like kind of technologies and healing things. So I've been looking down that route because I feel like there's been a lot that's been taken away or hidden. Yeah. And I think that's where, again, the conspiracy stuff comes in. Like, I think kind of like looking at what's been hidden from us in the past. Yeah. Whether it's like natural healing or natural remedies and all that kind of thing. And trying to bring some of that. I noticed a lot of people trying to bring that back into like more mainstream now. And I think that's kind of like the route I've been going down. But in terms of, and I like questioning a lot around religion. Like, I don't like organised religion. Yeah. But I do have the belief in something more. I feel like organised religion's controlled, so it's kind of trying to unravel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes, that resonates with a lot of other people and probably with ourselves as well. Yeah. Gary, have you got anything else that you wanted to ask?
Really, where I guess when we're talking about these hardships going forward and the things that need to happen, it's quite, I don't know when this video gets put out, sometimes it takes a while to turn them around, Ryan, so don't panic. But you know, I woke up today, they're talking about BlackRock and going defuncting or defaulting, and we see a lot around the financial system.
Well, there's a lot around Evergrande today as well.
That's
even
it,
on
yeah,
BBC.
that's it, all that stuff, yeah. So whatever, we'll see how that takes effect. But as I see people aligning themselves, I think it seems a big thing how to support ourselves financially. So it's like me and Casper do this. We haven't earned a penny from this in the last year. It does, yeah, it's not why we do
That's
it.
just because we're rubbish.
That is because we're rubbish. But I see, like yourself, I take it, you know, you're sort of in this transitionary in between period where you want to do the self-development stuff, but maybe you've still got a foot in the old 3D. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I don't earn any money from. Well, I earn probably a little bit with. Probably see me with the CBD stuff because I used it even before I got into that, and I kind of got talking to Anthony who runs it beforehand, and he asked me to affiliate for it, but maybe I don't think that even pays one bill a month. What I earn from that, I kind of just do it because I like the product, and I want to promote that because it's another natural one. But yeah, I'm looking at different alternatives online. I'm trying a few things at the minute to try and get out of that like 9 to 5. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot coming out, and again, it's kind of a lot's going to be coming our way, and I can't predict what's going to happen or what's going to come out the other side. But I think it's just about looking at doing things in an alternative way. And like I said, the personal development stuff, I might do more with that going forward. I've seen people setting up their own groups and books and whatever, but I don't feel like I'm far enough on it yet to do that. But
yeah,
might be. But I think you do what you want to do because you enjoy doing it, and then if it does get to a point where you can maybe make a living from it, great. If not, I'd keep doing it anyway, regardless, and sharing my stuff. I think it's just, but yeah, the getting out of the rat race, I think, is a difficult one. But I've been trying a few little things on the side, and I think, but I just need more focus, which I've not been doing recently, and that's why I need to kind of like go a bit more head in on that stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of us feel exactly like that. It's not easy to extricate from the mainstream, but then again, it's not easy to stay in the mainstream. So, you know, the pain that you're feeling financially to move away from it initially is probably a fair trade-off against what will ultimately come from that. I appreciate some people like myself, you know, we've got families and whatever, and it is very, very difficult to completely peel away. But it seems inevitable at some point, you know.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to, like, I would advise people start trying to find alternative income to peel away, because just, again, you don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. There's obviously, you can see which way financial markets are going. So even like I'd say at the minute my job is a relatively what would be classed as a safe job, but I can't guarantee that in the next couple of years. And like I said, the hardship of transitioning in the end will outweigh the hardship of staying doing what I'm doing, especially if it's like it doesn't feel right. I think it's different if you're like really passionate about what you're already doing, but if it's just a job, even if you like it, but it doesn't feel right, you should be trying to look for something that like you can continuously do going forward as an alternative.
I think this sort of authenticity button has been pressed in a lot of us, and no matter how much we think, well, it's a good idea and it's a safer bet to do this, and you know, maybe something will come along, there's something else inside us just say, I can't any longer. I just can't feel authentic and stay in that world. So whether that takes a month, a year, couple of years, maybe we haven't got that long to make those decisions anymore. But I think it's sort of inevitable that those who are pulled to move outside the mainstream just will struggle to remain in the confines of that. It's only getting more confining. It's not getting more open. It's not like that's gone, oh, okay, there's a lot of people out there who don't like this that much, therefore we'll open up a bit more. It feels like the exact opposite is still happening at the moment, that it's just becoming more and more sort of controlled, I think.
Yeah. Do you see this, Ryan, as in, you know, there's a lot of people that they feel they have to fight the system. And we've spoken a little bit about this, of do you put your energy into fighting, or do you put it into creating? So like just go with a parallel thing and build, and then wait for people to come. You know, the ones that resonates with, and leave that other part. Just leave it. How do you feel about that concept?
Yeah, I think the create's better than the fight. I think there's some element to, like, I've probably been more in the fight camp for the first couple of years, but like I'm trying to do that transition. I think there's still a purpose of calling things out and trying to open more people up to what's going on. But I think the majority of energy should be create. Like, you can still use the system to create the alternatives. Like, we're never going to change things. Like, the education system's never going to be changed to improve. The banking system's never going to be changed in our favour. None of the political system's never going to be changed in our favour. It's like, them kind of fights, like, I doubt it's ever going to change in our favour. So it's kind of seeing alternative, and you see these alternative systems come through. Like, if you look at the online space, there's a lot more younger generation learning, buying courses from like people on YouTube that are then going on making more than doctors by the age of 20. Like, you see it happening. So the education system's not going to keep going. Same with the health system. I've seen different people setting up their own alternatives to that and providing, whether it be option, I think, is it Health Alliance that's in on X, where they've got their own platform, but then just people offering different alternatives. So I think these alternative systems will continue to grow, and I think either creating your own or feeding into part of one of them be a far better use of your time than just continually trying to fight and change the system. That's not going to change, because as them systems come down, you need something in place. And you don't
good
want
point. It could well be one of the reasons that those systems haven't come down. You know, one of the reasons that they haven't been pulled away in a way that many of us might like, is exactly that, because there did need to be these parallel systems in place that could pick up the slack when they ultimately do. Just I think they'll more fall away and crumble than be smashed into defeat. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think the easiest one is, like, you can see governments that want to push like a central bank digital currency. They're not going to let the financial markets crash until that's in a place where they can then use a crash to their advantage. Whereas if there's alternatives available to people, people use more of them and kind of don't follow suit onto the government's, what the government or whoever's pushing that one. Then the alternative system wins in that case. And I think that'll be it with other systems. Like, they'll keep systems running until they have their alternative ready. So it's having better alternatives than what they're offering at the time, and more people drawn towards them. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, we are seeing these things being built. You know, there are different digital assets and currencies cropping up all the time, which allows you to navigate around these different systems, which in a way we probably always could have, but I guess the average Joe like us isn't privy to, or we don't store pallets of gold somewhere, because it's just not the world we're in. But now we have tools where we can fractionalize gold and make digital payments with these things. There's a lot of stuff actually around, and like you say, with the alternative healthcare, I just think it's just that shift in consciousness. You see a lot of people they have to find those alternatives, and if they can shop differently or save differently, gradually detach themselves as much as possible. It's not easy, but try and get away from those old systems, because then I think, like Casper said, they'll eventually come crumbling down. You don't want to be the last guy standing on the ship, really, when that collapses. I'll try not to be.
The other thing to mention, Ryan, just before, because I know time is always upon us in these things, that we will put obviously any information you'd like in our sort of description and show more sections. So if there are things you want us to put there, please do remember to offer them so people can find you and follow you and engage with your material.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Is it mostly X and you have Facebook and Instagram as well. Isn't it?
I've got Instagram as well, and I don't use it that often, so
He's all
I'd
over
probably
the
just
place.
stick with the. I kind of like I do a bit of cross posting, but it doesn't seem to get much engagement elsewhere. So yeah, I'm
It's
hoping
tricky.
to build more maybe video content this year. So YouTube, I might start dipping my toes into, maybe,
Yeah.
and Rumble, obviously.
Well, you're starting to do it now. So it's been it's been a journey for us.
Yeah,
the
you can
last
say
year.
that again.
Yeah. Like everything else, it has its ups and downs. Yeah. But it's it's great because we can create a platform for guys like yourself to come on, and that's mainly what it's about.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's great. Like you guys are doing a show like this. You've kind of seen what's going on, and you're doing something about it and creating something.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few people do it. Like none of these kind of podcasts exist before, and I'm seeing more of them pop up. Like, and it's good to see. And I think again, that's it. That's everyone playing, just doing their bit, remain true to yourself. Oh, I see a gap here. That would be good to create.
Yeah, you're right.
Share people's
It's exactly
stories.
how I felt. Just do your bit, because the other thing is we all realised very quickly that we couldn't take on the whole beast just on our own. So if we compartmentalise it and we do all our own little bit, the cumulative value of that is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to finish the show then on a little message that's on my Bruce Lee mug here.
Yeah, it won't work though, will it? You better read it, mate.
Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. So there we go. We'll finish on that as an inspiration.
Like it.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Hope you come back sometime.
Anytime. Just give us a shout whenever you want me.
Great. Take care, Father.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye from the Quantum Bridge. Cheers.